Hello, my friends. I hope you're doing well, having a good day, and just sending my hopefully some positive vibes to you from Kitchener. It's a warm day in Kitchener. I was just outside setting up some hornet decoys because that's an issue around my place. But otherwise things are good. I hope you're doing well. It's been great. A few of you have reached out and said hello and stuff, and I need to get back to a couple of recent ones, but that was just so cool. I really love teaching Nipissing students. You're such a great group of people. What I wanted to do with this video is to just add a little bit of clarity, okay? Because this is the second week. It's a 6-week course. And I realized I haven't really, I gave the syllabus and stuff on the course site, but I just wanted to make a quick video that sort of looked at two things: the schedule and the due dates. All right, and then just to say a couple quick things about the first assignment. So I want to try this. Again, I'm using this Prezi, which seems like pretty cool for these smaller videos. And yeah, you guys have introduced me to this. I never used this before. I had heard of it before, but not as maybe as an alternative to PowerPoint. But I think I had a weak computer at the time, and I tried it, and it didn't work good with my computer. But now with my new laptop, this works pretty slick. And it's good for PowerPoint, but it only is still PowerPoint, so you have to keep that in mind, right? Like if you had a video embedded in a PowerPoint, I don't think they've introduced that yet, but that would be the next step. So if you look at this, okay, so in the first week, and again, if you're finding this a little bit tough to read, text size, like this in terms of the size of the text, keep in mind that under the course information, I think, tab in the course site. So basically there's one, I think it's called course information, and then the next one's content, then the next one's evaluation. That first one, if you click on that, you'll find the syllabus where it has this in a Word or PDF document, I forget. And you'll see this breakdown a little bit maybe more easy to read. Basically, okay, let me, Mike, get your point. Okay, so the idea here is layers of mind, right? You got that presentation already, and I gave that assignment. All I want you to do for that assignment, a few people have asked, am I wanting you to review all those articles and then compare? And it's no, that'd be the whole course, basically. I think what I tried to do with those is give a bunch of different flavors of sort of the same depth, if that makes sense, right? So I tried to create a situation. I'll come back to this in a sec. I tried to create a situation. That works terrible. Okay, I'll go back to full screen. I tried to create a situation where you could all jump into the topic slightly differently, but this layers of mind idea I wanted to kind of try to really hit. And then philosophies of mind, conceptual and historical frameworks for understanding kind of humans and our place in this world and our social realities and stuff. And so for this one, you may notice, maybe I'll do this for a second. You may notice I went a little bit outside the box, and I'm trying to make this argument actually. Sorry, the other computer's beeping. I hope that's not picking up. But where I'm trying to go with this is this idea of mental health coaching is actually a difficult thing. And how do you actually do it? And how do you not just sell snake oil and sell people on this idea of transformation and self-development? It's how do you actually foster that? Because that's actually not easy. And if it was easy, we'd be much more systematic in how we did it. And the reason it's not easy is because it's so individual and it's so contextualized and it's so situated and it's so multifaceted. And the reason for that is because you're so complex. Human beings are massively complex creatures. And that's at an individual level, let alone once you're now around other people and in group settings and in especially complicated geopolitical situations. It's man, if we don't start with a deep understanding of what a human being is motivationally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, biologically, relatedly, right? Relatedly, whatever that means, you know what I mean? Socially. That these things are actually core, and it's that demands, if we're being serious academics, right? And if we're actually not just flavor of the month club, if we're actual academics, it's important to look at this deep history. And again, I'm not calling you flavor of the month club. You're some of the best students I've ever had. That's more of my critique on academia in general. So this philosophies of the mind, I want to go deep, right? It's like that's kind of my critique, right? It's like people want to teach about psychology and they want to teach as if humans have only been around for a couple hundred years, not literally, but it's like they don't go into that idea of like humans have been around for a super long time. I just critique them for not being scientific enough, and then I said a super long time. Let's say 200 to 300,000 years, and there's going to be debate on that because there's debate on, there's even debate on the when Homo sapien became Homo sapien sapien, and what does that even mean? And you'll see in this last video I did on human origins, I tried to get into that, and that was my first part of philosophies of mind, some of the prehistorical foundations, right? If we basically look at history as this idea of like written history, basically recorded history, well, there were people before that, and we're going to get to some of these earliest examples of written word and earliest examples of law and civilization, and how that actually matters. That actually matters if you want to understand psychology, because psychology obviously isn't a vacuum topic that's not influenced by everything else. So then in my next presentation, which is going to come out later this week, that's going to be, I think I call it Human Society Transitions from Localized Communities to Digital Societies, or something like that. And I've played with that title a lot. I've called it Fire to Freud before too. But like this idea of, well, recorded history, right? If the human origins one's is sort of like speculation somewhat about this idea that there's this deep history that we don't know much about. Well, once we get, to the Sumerians and the Babylonians and stuff, we start having, and in the Indian culture of India, and in some aspects of the Yin dynasty, so in China, and then in like Rome, especially, I'll talk about the emergence of Latin. All these things are actually really relevant, right? Because it's about some of the first understandings we have are from the people that were starting to write things down. Like just a random freestyled example would be like the Vikings. Like most of what we know about the Vikings are from the writings of Irish and British monks. Okay, that was a tangent. That was me getting off topic. But not really, not off topic, just too much into what the next presentation is going to be about. So then by that point, we're through kind of that pink upper layer, right? And so of that table. And so then you will have done the first assignment. Then when we get to this blue section, okay, so my idea is like, again, with pace of the course, that like the blue section starts next week, and this course is going to be over, it feels like, before it starts. So I'm trying to keep this doable, right? So my idea for week 3 and 4 is to have these small kind of reflection assignments, right? So in week 3, I'm going to be going next week deep into this idea of lessons from the 20th century and what we need to learn as a field of mental health practitioners from some of the mistakes made at an individual and group intervention level in the 20th century. And then I'm going to ask you to do sort of a reflection on what we talk about in those presentations. And then I'm going to do them on the self and other and the complexity of modern social experience. And I'm going to talk about, how does the self-help movement or movements or desire to help people dangerously sometimes turn into culty situations? And how do we be therapists and not cult groomers? And I think that's actually a key question of psychology right now. And it's a key question that people don't think that that's a real question. That's a good way that I can tell that someone's not thinking deeply about the topic. And so for the two, and again, if that sounds like out, again, if this feels a bit out of left field, I beg or I ask you to like give me the chance to present the content first, and then I hope it'll sort of make sense where I'm going with this. So both of the blue weeks are going to be short, kind of either scenarios where you can either do kind of like a written journal response or an audio journal response or like a video response if you've been my student before. And I'll give more explanation for that later and like soon, but not in this video. And then the last one is going to be, I'm going to get you to do like a bit of an assignment on specifically related to mental health coaching. And that's going to be the final thing, right? And you can see as we move into the green there, the last 2 weeks, I'm going to be talking about, okay, so now we've, in the pink and blue, covered tons of territory. And I'm really trying to cover this whole idea of like by this point, we've spent a lot of time talking about what humans are, what motivates humans, how we're situated in these social groups that provide all these pressures and benefits and costs to our psychology, and how this all relates to this complicated understanding between the relation of self and other. And then once we get to that point, we're going to get into this idea, okay, well then, how do we use all this to try to encourage resiliency in the development of and cultivation of courage in the people that we're working with? And how is courage different than just not being afraid? Right? Because it's being less afraid and being more courageous aren't necessarily the same thing. And then I'm going to end with my last rant of a presentation, but I hope you'll find it interesting: cognitive autonomy and psychological persuasion. And so I really tried to set this course up. So now let's look at the assignments for a sec, or the due dates. So it's like, you'll notice everything for the dates, I just used Fridays, because again, this is asynchronous. So I thought I had to, it was, to be honest, it's somewhat arbitrary, but I just thought, to be consistent, let's just pick the Fridays. So you'll notice it's in a 6-week course. So it's like the 6th, the 13th, 20th, 27th, 3rd, and 10th of June. So basically my idea is, you have this first assignment, and I wanted to give extra time for it so people could kind of get their feet under them in the course. So that's going to be due not this Friday, but next Friday. And then you'll notice for the last 3 weeks, there's something due every week. And I hope that doesn't feel overwhelming, because what I'm going to try to do is basically have a presentation for you, and then a kind of prompt for you to do some kind of response to, for both the blue ones. Right? So my goal is really, if you sit down and you absorb these presentations, and then put an hour or two towards your assignment, that's sort of where I'm not thinking this should be massively overwhelming. All right, so I hope that helps a little bit. What I'm going to be doing is over the next, I'm working on it right now, because basically what I had is the presentation I want to give, it's a long one. So this is my other little wink point to you, is this week is kind of a little bit more background. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed or stressed for time, you could kind of sidestep it for a little bit. I'm going to be doing this presentation on kind of this history of philosophy and technology, and it's if you want to focus a bit more on the assignments and then watch that at the end of the course or whatever, it's again, I want you to engage this course in a way that makes sense for you, but please watch it at some point. Besides that, I guess that flag, the old school Canadian flag, that looks backwards, I guess, with the mirror flipped. I should change that. But anyways, didn't need to say that. That was just me thinking in my head out loud. Thanks for being an awesome group. I hope that this video helps a little bit with just a little bit of clarity. For the first assignment, I'm not looking for anything super huge. I'm looking for just a quick, fill out that template, couple pages of just your reflection on the article, right? And again, my point with this course is I'm a bit, to be honest, a bit new to short courses. So my goal is, I really want you to learn something, have a cool experience, but not feel burdened by the course, right? Because, that can sap the fun and enjoyment and learning out of it. All right, my friends, next presentation on human society coming real soon. I might even start recording today. Oh yeah, just to finish my point, it was I have it ready to go, but I'm going to remove some videos and add some more different content. I'm going to try to do it a bit in Prezi, so I'm just kind of trying to get the presentation a little bit more ready for that format. So it should be in the next couple days. All right, but again, at this point, from a student perspective, you're working on the layers of mind assignment, and the next thing that you're going to get that it'll be an assignment will be next week. It'll be a reflection on next week's presentation. All right, my friends, cheers, have a good day, and keep being awesome.